this was posted, Glittering Death Barge, Miniar 94. If this is this your blog? Why give yourself such a compressed name? How about your real name? Consider the subtleness of the sea, how its most dreaded creatures glide underwater, unapparent for the most part, and treacherously hidden beneath the loveliest tints of azure. That's from Herman Melville, the Moby Dick, or The Whale. This is called Leviathan Eater, which is in custom class from this Into the Archipelago project. We already got this. So I'm just scrolling past some of the intro text here to get to the actual thing. So what's this Leviathan Eater thing? It's the first custom class. Is that intentional? They made it for someone else. All right, so that's just more great. So we get a picture of Leviathan. All right, here we go. Leviathan Eater. When you catch and kill sea gods, when you drive your harpoons through their tough blubber, strip away the black skin, and get so covered in their flesh and viscera that you cannot tell where you end and the whale begins, something changes inside you. The whale has more than meat to share with you. With each strike of the fleshing blade, it gives up a little more of its secrets, its power. You wear its bones, fill your belly with fatty, salty meat, and douse yourself in the rendered oils. A priest who slaughters their gods, a protector of sacred fishing grounds, a tallow witch with a belly full of god meat. I like the language, though I feel like they could find some other words for meat. They use meat a lot, but I do like it. All right, so that was just the flavor text for Leviathan Eater. Equipment: carry a whalebone club, carved with images passed down secondhand from whale dreams, and a black powder harpoon gun. You also have a pack filled with cured whale meat, tufts of baleen, chunks of whalebone, ambergris, and jars of oil in varying grades. Choose one move when you create your character. You may choose more as you level up. This is kind of I guess a glogism, right? Where you kind of get to pick several abilities. So of these abilities, we have Whale Song. Place your head beneath the waters and sing. Bellow, moan until your lungs are fit to burst. Once per session, you can call on a whale that will surface. The longer and better you sing, the deeper the water, the farther you are from the safety of the shore, the bigger the whale. Hunt the whale, kill the whale, ask for its forgiveness and its mercy. Ask it to kill your enemies or tow a becalmed ship to port. Climb inside it and live forever in its guts, sucking down krill with an open mouth and a full heart. So I guess the first thing here is I love the flavor is amazing. But you don't get much sense about what this thing actually does. I would like a little bit, like, is this a charm effect that's limited to whales at sea? Because it seems like you can both attack it, which I guess is fine. It would probably break the charm part of the spell. But hey, you've summoned it, and if you want to then attack it, you've got it. But then you can ask it to do a bunch of stuff, and it seems to indicate that it will do it. Or are you supposed to then roll some kind of reaction? How does this work? I'm not sure. So as much as I love the flavor, a little bit of that, well, how does this actually work? Like, what are the limits? What am I supposed to do with this? If you're close to shore, what kind of whales are you getting? Because it's not like big whales can't come close to shore other than the fact that they might beach, but are you getting like beluga whales? Or I know killer whales are technically not even whales, but I mean, what? And then I would like a little bit more to know limits. How much can I ask? How long does it do this for? Is it for days? If I'm asking a huge whale that I summon in the middle of the ocean to take my ship to the nearest port, which could be days or potentially weeks, does it last that long? Do I have to keep singing to it? What do we got going here? Pete Giant says this reminds them, for some reason, they've always been tempted to try and mess around with sunken treasure and diving bells, etc. Never been sure how to go about it though. That's cool. Yeah, this is probably not going to answer that though. Though maybe some of these abilities would give you your little diving influence, but yeah, maybe different parts of this system, if the entire RPG will kind of cover those sorts of things. But it is always cool. It's always been sort of annoying or frustrating, the fact that the underwater stuff, it's cool, but at the same time, you almost have to learn things totally differently in terms of even if you're just playing, I know we're playing fantasy role-playing games, but we're always thinking about, the physics of water. We sort of all have kind of different ideas of what things should do in water. Can you throw a spear in water, really? I say kind of no. Maybe someone else will say, oh, yes, you can, but I have 18 strength, so I can chuck the spear like it's nothing. Like, how much does it affect you? You have to have special spells or charms done. there's just a lot to it. And yeah, I would agree that I probably haven't seen some mechanic do it super neatly that both does the stuff, but also doesn't make it kind of too neat where it just feels like water doesn't really exist, or too complicated where it seems half the time you're trying to figure out how much air you have left. There's a fine line between clever and stupid. You know, that's a really terrible Spinal Tap impersonation. Next ability we have is wave reading. Once per session, examine a patch of water, L nautical miles wide. I think L is your level, and know every ship, fish, whale, spirit, and storm that passed through it in the last day. You always know the way to deep water to home. Is deep water home, or are those two different things? Not sure. But I like that. I mean, there's obviously both these abilities so far only make sense if you're going to be playing a lot on the water. If this is something you're introducing in campaign, you're going to be landlocked. You know, don't have this class. Next one is Gifts of the Leviathan, whale magic, drawn from the blood and bones and blubber of the sea god's children. Cover your skin in tallow fat and swim like a seal for days beneath the surface. Dive deeper than the weakest shafts of light can reach. Stay down in the black for hours without coming up for air. Burn a splash of ambergris and make yourself irresistible, or splash it on someone else and make them repulsive to all the men and women in port. Take a bite out of the heart and grow long and large with barnacled armor on your back. Once again, the flavor is awesome, but I wonder about the specificity. And I don't know if this is it's been a while since I looked at the Glog thing. I don't remember if the Glog was like this too. I think it was kind of where everything was really image focused. And I'm not saying I need to have 5th edition style super mechanics, but I want something. Because ultimately what I could see happening with these kinds of classes, if you're not all, especially if you're not all on the same page, maybe, and I haven't played a Glog, or I guess the piratey Grog version, so I don't know if you're just in a situation where everyone at the table is kind of on the same wavelength. So when people are playing these out, we all have the same expectations for this stuff. But this can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. You know, how long is this stuff supposed to last? How repulsive is somebody? How irresistible is somebody? What is it? I can swim for days beneath the surface. Does that mean days without coming up to breathe? Because seals do come up to breathe. They dive, but they don't stay down there for days. I don't know. And I would just like to know, because I could just see if I handed this to somebody, I feel like I would have to have a lot of conversations over here's how we're thinking it's going to work. Here, when they're saying days, we're going to roll dice. We're going to do that, this or that. So I end up as a GM. I do feel like when I read this, I have to put in a lot of work that I wish maybe the other person had done more of, just so that to kind of take that burden of doing the work off of me. Copy Pasta says, no, you see, there's a clear mechanical limit. You just need to know how deep the deepest shafts of light are. Yeah, exactly. Once I've got that figured out, once I've watched the Blue Planet documentaries and I've watched enough episodes, then was it whichever the living Sir Attenborough who narrates it, I forget which of the brothers it is, then I will know. P. Giant says, as long as the GM has the idea and communicate it to the players, it's all good. I agree with you, but I have to then, as the GM, I have a burden now of having to come up with all this stuff. Because what I'm going to have to do is, I don't want to wait until this comes up in-game, I guess is what I'm saying. If I'm looking at someone, hey, they take this, maybe I won't do these limitations until they decide what abilities they want to, but at the same time, if I'm a player, how often does this happen where you take an ability because you think it works way A, and then you get into the game with the GM, and the GM has decided it works way B. And as a player, you say, if I had known that this wasn't going to work like the idea I had in my head, I wouldn't have taken it. I would have taken something else. So therefore, at some point early in the process, I'm going to have to go through and kind of vet all these, try to figure out some mechanics that are not going to make it too good, also aren't going to make it too poor, figure it out, and then run it by the player, and hopefully the things that I have said don't bum them out too much where now they don't want to take the class or whatever it is, right? And that is not necessarily a something I can't do, but it is an extra burden compared to if I just said, here's, you know, this other class, right, that is written in a way that kind of gives us all the parameters that we can all see and say, this ability lets you charm a whale for 2d4 days. It'll do X, Y, and Z. if something else happens, you got to roll. Right, great. Now, it's not as flavorful, though you could add the flavor and have it. But now, when we read that, 99 times out of 100, the player and I are going to have it. We know 2d4 days. There's not much. Where's the day begin? Where's the day end? Whatever. Does it end at dawn? Does it end at midnight? Or whatever like that. But most of it, we're going to be right on the same page from the start, which means I don't have that burden. I don't have to worry about it. It's done. And then if I want to tweak it, I can. But this, I feel like I got to do a lot of that work myself, which some folks are just going to dive into it and say, great. Some folks like to play things loosey-goosey, and their players are going to know there's just going to be some dice rolled, and some days it's going to be awesome, and some days maybe less so. Great. But for me, I kind of like to know, I just kind of like to know. Maybe is my thing. Dave says, let's see. The mental process of figuring some of that stuff out can take time at the table. Yeah, or it takes time out when I could be prepping or doing something else. And it's not bad. I'm not just saying it's bad. And I think there's a whole part of the OSR that will just, and I love the flavor that will just go into this. And I think this probably fits in very well. If you're already playing kind of GLOG or GLOG adjacent games, boom, you're just going to go in here and go. The only thing I just read and go, wow, it would be great. And I know that especially in these days where you're playing with maybe online with random people that you don't know. And I know I haven't gotten into extended discussions with spell descriptions and what does what and what does when. Like, it's really easy to end up on the other side of something that becomes contentious. And when you're creating something, I just feel like just take that extra step. And especially this, it's a digital product. Just give me, instead of putting 5 on a page without any mechanics, and I don't need a ton of mechanics, acts as a charm spell cast on a whale this much time, this, like, whatever. That's all I need. Just another sentence or so, really. Maybe just a couple of dice, and then I'd be more or less set. Brian Smith says, it sounds really fun for a nautical campaign, but do those really exist? I imagine they do. Dave says, jumping in every tabletop game works that way if you can jump 60 feet, but if your movement is 30 feet, do you end the turn in the air, or do you gain 30 movement? Bum, bum, all the questions. Questions about jumping. Yeah, that is a good one. I have no answer for you, Dave. I don't even know how I'd figure that out. Thankfully, it hasn't really come up for me. Pete Giant says, I agree, having rules succinctly written as long as they're clear, it's all good. Yeah, it's, this isn't something like, I don't know, that I would say, like, I'm going to ding this because they're giving me nothing, or it's just all glitz without any, all sizzle without any steak. But I just look at it and I'm like, wow, these are really good. I just want to know, especially in kind of a GLOG sense, when any of these can be taken at any time. These are not your apex abilities. These can come up level 1. You can have that thing, which is, I'm fine with it, but just, let me know, because who knows, goodness knows, left to my own devices, I might be the cruel GM. This is, well, they say days, but really you're going to go like a seal for this many combat turns, and then you'll die if you're in the deeps. I don't know, right? I want to be fair. I want to know what they, it's almost a little bit like it's that, give me the benefits of your playtesting and experience, because I hope that they wrote this up and that someone maybe has played in it for a while and you had to go through some of these things of when they pick these abilities and how they work. So just give me that. And at least that can be my basis that we can start from. All right, back to these. We got the grizzled. When deprived, you can still regain half your hit points and missing ability scores by resting. You can drink seawater as though it were fresh. That's kind of low-key good. And this one says, actually, I don't remember what deprived is, but maybe that you have levels of exhaustion. But that's a sneaky, strong, but also this one, it's just pretty clear, right? Here, you get something. When you are, say, we're going to say that deprived is like exhausted. You could still regain, you could still heal by resting, and you could drink seawater as though it were fresh water, which, bam, done. And actually, it's interesting, this one, they don't really have any flavor text, which I guess you could argue, is this the least thematic of them? Because whales can't drink seawater either. I don't think they can anyway. Do they? Do whales? Maybe they do. Do whales drink seawater? I feel like that the answer should be no, but maybe they do. I don't know, but that one's particularly clear. Anyway, next is the Dreaming Sea. In the darkest depths, arrayed like an ancient henge, drifting through watery night, the sperm whales sleep. In that crushing black, they dream. By gorging yourself on whale meat mixed with opium or strong drink, you can fall into a stupor and visit this place. You dream with the whales as though you were one of them and learn what they know of the past and the future to come. Dave says they have to drink seawater. What else would they drink? I don't know. I guess maybe they do. Maybe they don't have to drink at all. I'm not sure. Copy Pasta says, where else do they get water? These are all good points. I don't know. It just seems weird to me that they drink seawater. I never read anything about how whales filter seawater. I've heard of, what fish do with gills, getting air out of the water. I don't know. These are all good questions. I am not a marine biologist. I don't pretend to know these things. I suppose they must drink seawater. I've never seen or heard anything about it. So it just seems odd to me, but it's probably one of those things that's only odd because you just never think about it. Do androids dream of electric sheep? I don't know. Do whales drink seawater? I don't know. Maybe they don't even have to necessarily drink it. They just get so much of it just by virtue of doing things like opening their mouths to eat that they just process it out. They must have some they must have some special kidneys to filter out all that salt. I don't know. And the Dreaming Sea is cool. I like it. Past and future. I don't know that. I know that here they're sort of making this, they're calling whales like the gods or the children of the sea gods or something. So potentially they'd have some knowledge of the future, which would seem weird because they're also getting killed and you're inclined to be killed. And if they had knowledge of the future, you think they might not show up for you to potentially kill them or do things. So you might think, if you could see the future, why aren't you doing a little bit better of a job avoiding some terrible things happening to your species? I don't know. I do like the idea of knowing what they know. I might just say, hey, I would have just maybe moved that period up there and just, what they know. The concept, again, the imagery is very cool. You go into the stupor and then you find yourself in this deep, dark place with just the shadows of these massive sperm whales hanging. There's dreaming, and then you could maybe ask them questions. Of course, I still want to know how many questions do you get, kind of thing. Yeah, sure, I could roll some dice. 1d3 or 1d4, 1d6, something like that. And kind of what do they know? Is it stuff that's passed through the area? Am I going to the nearest pod of sperm whales? Like, what do they, someone say, well, what do they know? I don't know. What are the bounds that what I'm due to give them? Because this is one of those that with the wrong, or a GM that has the wrong vision of this, you go to some sperm whale sleeping place, you're able to ask them questions, they just don't know anything because the sperm whales are 1,000 miles away from you. If this is kind of some semi or divine, some kind of divine communications, then what is appropriate for them to know? We don't know. All right, well, that's it. And there's a link on the Google Drive. Copy Pasta says Aquafina doesn't ship to the ocean. This is true. But what about Aquafina? Does Aquafina ship to the ocean? Well, that was Leviathan Eater.